podcast. My name's Amanda. I'm here with my lovely mother.
Hi, I'm Janette.
And the day we are filming this is actually Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to my mom.
Yes.
We do have the back door open, so if you hear the little birdies outside...
We can close that if we need to.
That's okay. If you hear the birds outside, that's coming from us. You're not hearing, you're not being gaslighted by your own house or something like that. The birdies are here.
Feels like summertime.
My mom literally just flew back from Sorrento, Italy yesterday. So she's going to fill us in on her trip in Sorrento.
Yes, I decided if I was going to tell the story to Amanda, we might as well do it all at once. It was amazing. That's the first thing I have to say. We flew into Naples last Saturday night into Sunday morning, and we came home Saturday morning and got home Saturday afternoon through Naples. But we didn't stay in Naples. We only stayed one night, the last night. I'll get to that. But we stayed in Sorrento, and I got to tell you, it was just wonderful. Cars were good. The hotel was amazing. The city is amazing. Going to Sorrento, we picked Sorrento specifically because we had done Ireland, we had done London, we had done Rome, we had done Paris. All that is lots of museums, lots of things, lots of city, lots of that kind of. Sorrento's like going to a seaside retreat. There were a lot of Europeans, a lot of Italians even there. Very big British. I think there were more of that than there were Americans when we were there, but we were there shoulder season. It wasn't busy season, obviously. When we went, I said I would go as long as we stayed in one hotel. I did not have to pack and unpack and pack and unpack. We stayed in one hotel, and I have to tell you, we used World Tours to get our transfer cars to go from the airport to the hotel, from the hotel to the next hotel in Naples the night before that we had to leave for the plane, and then from Naples to the airport, Naples Airport. World Tours was excellent.
That's where you rented the car?
That's where we got the transfers from. My friend recommended a lot of some of this stuff because she goes every 2 years. She goes practically to like Capri and Sorrento, and like that's her favorite place to go. And she told me to use World Tours for the transfers, which I did, and they are excellent. I went on their website, did everything on the website.
What is a transfer? You haven't said what that is yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Transfer is different from a tour.
Yeah.
What they call transfer cars are people taking you from hotel to hotel.
So it's a person who's driving you.
Yes, the person is driving you from hotel. It's like getting an Uber, like renting a taxi. But they call them a transfer because it's not a taxi or an Uber. They give you a set price. You pay. I paid a deposit online, and then we paid the difference when we got there on our credit card. If you very, very carefully look at their website, they do have a 20% coupon, and it kind of flashes on and off. So you have to make sure you get that code and put it in when you book your car, and you get 20% off. They are very good about the day before. They sent us an email that confirmed that they were picking us up at a certain time at a certain place, telling us what the balance was that we owed. We were supposed to have American-speaking drivers. Only the first one was. The other two drivers that we used did not speak English. They only spoke Italian. So we drove in silence and we just said hello and goodbye and paid the bill. But they were very, very dependable. And when you're over in a foreign country, obviously, that's what you want. When you get off that plane, you want to know that car's going to be there. And when we were going to the airport, that was our big thing, that we had to get to the airport early. So they said, do not try to go from Sorrento to the Naples airport. You have to go back to Naples and stay in Naples.
So how far is it between Naples and Sorrento?
Naples and Sorrento is about 45 minutes. The first day it took a little longer because there was a little bit more traffic. But when we left on Saturday morning and went back to the airport, there was hardly any traffic at all. Friday. I'm sorry. Going, there was no traffic. Friday, when we went from Sorrento to Naples, it was about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. From that hotel that we stayed in Naples, which was right near the center of town, it was like 20 minutes to the airport. So in the morning, they picked us up at 7. Actually, he was there. And that's another thing. They were always there a few minutes early, like 10 minutes early. We were ready, obviously, because we're always ready. So we were ready in the lobby. It took like 15 minutes to get to the airport because it was a Saturday morning and right through. I mean, it's really convenient. So not bad. But the only reason to go to Naples is to get to the airport. I will get to Naples later, but I was not impressed with Naples. It was really bad. But Sorrento, absolutely gorgeous. The views, the water. We had great weather. When we got to Sorrento, it is amazing once you get there because everything's so clean and white. Everything's clean and white because it's almost like I said, going to a beach resort town. We stayed at the Grand Royal Hotel. It was amazing. The room was a bay view room. We were on the second floor. We had a balcony with 2 chairs and a table. We had a nice little room. It wasn't big, gigantic, but it had lots of drawers and different things in it. It had a TV. Everything was in Italian. For 6 days, we did nothing but watch Magnum and old shows and NCIS in Italian. In Italian. Couldn't figure out how to get the what do you call those things at the bottom?
The subtitles?
Yeah, subtitles. The remote didn't really match the TV, so we couldn't do that. So we just had it on in the background. Every once in a while, we could get CNN in English, so we could at least get some news, but that was about it. Oh, the Pope did get elected while we were there. Bells ringing like crazy. People, everybody was interested in the fact that the Pope got elected. The hotel, the Grand Royal Hotel, is gorgeous. Beautiful hotel. It's got grounds right up there on the bay. It's on a cliff. All the hotels up there are on cliffs. There's no beach. It's all cliffs. Mm-hmm. The hotel had its hotel, and then we took, after breakfast one day, we took a lift down, and I'll get to that after we do that. But the whole hotel has a restaurant out by the water where you overlook Vesuvius and the cliffs and across to Naples and whatever, and the marina, which you can see down to the left. And it has all seats and tables and a patio to have drinks and a bar inside and outside. They had a big room where we had breakfast every day, and they also had a very fancy restaurant that was out on, that you could sit by the water. We did not eat at the restaurant. We did hang out at the bar, and we did eat breakfast every day because breakfast comes with the room. And the Italians know how to serve breakfast. They really do. The hotel, I can't say enough about the hotel. Actually, when you check in, they actually take you for a tour and show you everything while you're there. They say, let me show you and they walk you around and do everything and show you everything. I loved it. It was just really, really great. You knew exactly what was going on. Okay. So the day we got there, room wasn't ready. So of course, so we said, okay, no problem. We left our bags with them, and we could walk from the hotel to the main part of Sorrento, the town. And they consider it Sorrento and Old Town Sorrento. They're all connected. You just go down the main road, and you can see as it gets older as you get down towards the other end. Sorrento's not to me, it wasn't a big shopping thing because it was a lot of souvenir stores. There were some leather stores. I did buy myself a little leather pocketbook. It was actually a very good price. But mostly it's souvenir stores. Lots of lemons. I could buy a lemon the size of your head.
Yeah.
Okay? They were this big.
Well, that's what all Southern Italy's known for, is the lemon.
Yes.
Well, that was in Southern
yes.
Central
But
Italy.
it's like, I could buy one the size of your head.
Known for lemons.
I know.
Limone.
So the other thing in Sorrento, fish. You better like fish.
Well, you're on the coast. Yeah.
Yes, you're on the coast. You better like fish because 98% of their dishes, even if they're pasta dishes, have fish in them. So I don't eat that much fish. So I was very picky about what I had. And I have a couple of funny stories about that. But we went out the first day and just kind of walked. We walked around. We went to check out what was going on. And as I was thinking today, I said, oh my God, I kept forgetting. Like, where did we go the first day? Where did we eat the first day? What happened the first day? It was like so confusing because you're like on overload because there's so much going on. So we went down and we walked around. We saw a couple of restaurants, but nobody really serves lunch till 12 o'clock. Well, for us, we got there at 7:30 in the morning. So by 11:30, we were starving. Mm-hmm. So we walked back to the hotel and we sat in the restaurant because they serve lunch in the restaurant. We sat in the restaurant. I had pizza. Daddy had some kind of fish salad or whatever. I had pizza. I have to say, I'm not a big fan of Napoleon pizza only because it has a lot of crust. I'm not a crust person. So when I get to the crust, I'm not interested in eating the crust. Crust wasn't bad. It was very good, but I'm not interested in eating the crust. I want my stuff to come all the way up to the end of the crust.
I'm the same with pizza.
Yes. So I did have pizza. It was delicious. Every sauce you had was delicious because they're all made with the fresh tomato. Mm-hmm. So and the fresh mozzarella. So everything was delicious. So we did that. So what happened is we saw this one restaurant we wanted to go for lunch. They didn't open till 12 and it was like 11 o'clock and we were like, no, we can't. Let's go back to the hotel. But we decided to go back there for dinner that night. Every restaurant, up an alley, outdoor tables. They have indoor and outdoor tables. Sit down. We had great weather. Sat down and we had every dinner was appetizers and dinner. So, it was a week of eating, eating all the stuff that I don't eat. Pasta, bread, wine, all this stuff that, I don't eat. That night, I said, well, we're in Sorrento. You walk past all these lemons. I wanted something with lemon. So I said, okay. So Daddy had he had crispy octopus. Octopus on everything. You can get 20 different types of octopus. Crispy octopus and potatoes. They served it on a slate with all this little mashed potato, like rosettes around the edge. It was beautiful. People next to us ordered one, then they ended up ordering a second one. It looked so good, but I don't eat octopus.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I had a tomato salad, which I've never eaten so many tomatoes in my life. I ate a tomato salad. And then for dinner, the only pasta I wanted to eat was pasta with lemon and red prawns. Red prawns are a very big thing there. So, of course, me being the fussy person that I am, I said, are they peeled? Mm-hmm. Like I did not want the red prawns sitting there looking at me.
So did you find a lot of the waiters spoke English in these restaurants?
Yes, waiters mostly all spoke English, okay? Not every place you went, there were people that could help you that spoke English. But yes, almost every restaurant, you never had a problem.
Yeah.
Yes, never had a problem. So the waiter was a young guy. Actually, this restaurant was a riot because we were sitting inside, and it was owned obviously by a family because they knew everybody that was walking by. People would come with their dogs and their things and say hello to them and whatever. Every time we turned around, there was a different waiter walking out the door and coming back and forth. It's like, this tiny little place has like 15 waiters. But we had this young guy who was actually serving us, and I said to him, I want to order this, but does it have tails and feet on it? Like, I wanted to make sure he understood what I was saying. He's, oh yeah, no, they're peeled, okay? He says, but there'll be like 2 little ones with all the feet just for decoration. For decoration. And I looked at him and said, I don't need the decoration. So Daddy said to me, I'll peel them for you. Don't worry. So I said, oh, all right. You all right? I just don't want them looking at me before I eat them, right? Well, when they brought the dishes out, there were no unpeeled shrimp on it. They were all peeled. And the guy came out and he said, we peeled the shrimp. Yeah. He said, oh, thank you. He got a tip. Nobody tips in Italy. We tipped him. We said, oh, thank you. I said, thank you. He's so cute, you know? We ordered Barolo by the glass there. Big, beautiful wine glasses. We ordered the house Barolo. It was out of this world. It was so good. We only had a glass each that night because we were exhausted. I did not sleep on the plane. You know, the plane ride is 9 hours. Did not sleep a wink. It was too, even Daddy couldn't sleep. It was too loud, too whatever. I was up for like almost 2 days. We had to go back to the hotel. So we just had 1 glass of wine each. I got to tell you, excellent. We actually went back later on that week. I went back. That's the only one we went back to. I would have went back to most of the restaurants twice because they were so good, but we didn't have enough time. We left there. On the way home, we passed all the gelato places, right? So now you're looking at all the gelato places. Like, I gotta have gelato. And I made sure that we checked it first. I went and looked to see what it looked like. And we went to a place. I actually wrote down some of the, if anybody ever wants to know where I went, I've given them the information. I took pictures of everything. It was Amarino Natural Gelato. It was just a little stand on the main road, like once we came from a hotel that took us up towards the town. And I got pistachio gelato. Daddy got hazelnut gelato. Oh my God, it was delicious.
Pistachio. See.
Oh, it was so good. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big...
They have like lots of flavors?
Yes. Oh, God. There was one place, Reiki, that had, when you walked in, some of them had 24 flavors of gelato. Yeah. You look at all of them going, oh my God, I don't know what to have. But I actually love pistachio. Yeah. And I
like the basic flavors too.
Yes. So they had everything. They had everything you could think of. They had a gelato for it. I mean, like salted caramel, cookie dough, mango, lemon, pineapple, orange. You could get anything you wanted. I always went for I only had 2 gelatos. I guess I only had 2 gelatos during the week.
2?
But I always went for the pistachio. Yeah. Because it was my favorite. I said, what am I going to try something else for? It was just so good. So good. So that took our first night. So I'm telling you, these places that we went to, the restaurant was called Da Gigino. And it was just on a little, when you go to Sorrento, there's one main road that runs up. It's very wide. You have to watch where you're walking because the scooters, I have never seen so many scooters in my life. They do not follow the traffic rules.
Oh, they don't stop. Vespas, right?
Yes. Yeah. They do not stop for lights. They do not stop for people. They do not stop for anything. I even asked one of the drivers, aren't they supposed to follow the rules? He said, they are. They don't. Okay. So even if you think you're walking on a street where everybody's walking, 2 seconds later, you hear somebody coming up behind you, you got to hop out of the way. But there's this big street. Oh God, I forget the name of it now, but you can't miss it. It's the big street that goes down through Sorrento into Old Town. That street has, it's very wide. It's got the church on it that we went into. It's got a couple of shops. Not a lot of clothing stores. Okay, that was Naples, had everything. This is just more or less vacation wear. You know, they had some places that had some nice resort wear, things like that. Couple of designers, gelato places, bars, restaurants with tables outside, cafes with tables outside. Running along parallel to that is another street where all the souvenir shops are on. Yeah. That street is so narrow that we were in a crowd all the time. I said, oh my God, I went through this whole thing without getting sick. But we went up and down that street like 20,000 times while we were there because, you know, you're always going off an alley, coming back. And that's where all these stores were, that lemons after lemons after lemons after lemons. Everything has lemon candy and lots of lemon hard candies, you know, hard candy.
But you don't really eat that type of
No,
candy,
that's what I said. It looks really pretty. They put them in the bags, really pretty. But who eats hard candies? You take 2 and then you're like, no, the rest goes in the garbage.
Even though I actually love lemons. Like I love like lemon gelatos and, you know.
Yes,
like,
but it just did, the stuff they had, like we looked at it. I mean, they have socks with lemons on them, and this with lemons on them, and that with lemons on them. They have T-shirts that say Amalfi with a lemon on it, whatever. It was not a place, we didn't buy a lot, let's put it this way. We didn't buy much of anything. Like I said, I bought myself a little bag. Daddy bought himself a little bottle of limoncello. That was about it. They do have the limoncello stores. You walk into the limoncello stores, they give you samples of chocolates and cookies and things, and they give you samples of all the different, like you could taste every one of those limoncellos if you wanted to, and whatever.
Well, that's good because it's like, I know with alcohol especially, it's good to taste it before you invest into like a bottle.
Yes,
so.
And they had different flavors of limoncello. Yeah. Not only do they have the plain limoncello, they have limoncello made with cream. They have limoncello made with chocolate. They have limoncello made with mango.
Well, which one's your favorite?
I don't drink limoncello. Daddy likes the plain one. He liked the plain one the best, the original limoncello.
So remember when I told you I did not drink alcohol for many, many years.
Right.
And then when we were in Italy, I drank alcohol for the first time. I told everyone I broke it on wine. It actually was not. It was on limoncello.
Limoncello?
See, because at the end of one of our lunches, they brought it out.
They give it to you.
So a lot of the restaurants, they do the same. Like when you're done, they just bring it out
Daddy drank most of whenever they gave it to us.
When he gave it to us, at first I wasn't going to take it, but then Ted was like, well, I'm going to drink mine. I was like, you know what? And then I just knocked it back.
Well, if you remember, that's what they give you in Il Molino's too. It is,
yes.
They come around and give when we go to Disney.
And I feel like in Il Molino's in America, you can say no, but I feel like in Italy, it was like rude to say no. So I didn't want to say no.
No, they brought it. I even said, no, that's okay. They brought 2 glasses. Daddy drank both
I think it's rude to tell them that you don't want it, even though it's like, I don't really drink it.
Yeah, Daddy drank both
It's
glasses.
very strong.
It is. It's very strong. I just can't, But Daddy tried a couple of them. He likes the original, the limoncello. Okay. But they don't like skimp on saying, no, you can't, whatever. The big one that they have there, it's called Limonoro. That one was that's where we bought our stuff from. God, they also sell it all in hand-painted bottles.
Yeah.
All these beautiful shaped glass bottles with hand painting on them. And I kept looking at them going, I said, you know what? I've got so many wine bottles in this box.
Yeah, they probably do that too. So then you just want it for the souvenir as well as the
I kept looking at it going, do I really want that bottle? Do I really want that bottle? I said, you know what? I don't need another knick-knack. No, I don't. I love looking at them. But I said, you know what? It's just going to be another bottle. I'm going to try to figure out where to put it. So I said, no, I don't need another bottle. But they are beautiful. But they, like I said, they don't stop. You walk in, the first thing they do is come over and offer you, limoncello or cookies or candies or whatever. So that was fun. We did that and that street runs like parallel to the big street, but it's packed. And then off that street is all the streets going through that have all the outdoor tables and this going on and that going on and more stores and more things. And there's always something to look at. It's like a bustling kind of place. It was just lots of fun. It was just fun to just walk around and look at everything. So, okay, second day, breakfast. Do you remember the breakfast in Rome?
I do, yes.
In that big, beautiful white room with the tablecloths and the things and everything you could possibly think of to eat that they had that was fresh and whatever. That's what this breakfast was. It was, if you were getting married in Italy, I would tell you, go get married in that room. They had 2 rooms. One was all the tables where we ate, and in the middle, they had like cereals, like 6 different kinds of cereals. They actually had a champagne bottle with all the orange juice to have mimosas. They had milk, they had butter, all the butters and cheeses, jellies and stuff. And then they had a whole thing of jars of potted, like it looked like yogurt or milk or something. Could have been milk or
was it like clotted cream or something?
Yes, like a clotted cream.
It's a very like British thing.
Yes, clotted cream in different flavors. So obviously I didn't touch that because I don't eat that kind of stuff.
That's like when you see like beans, like baked beans in the morning. It's like that's a British thing.
Yeah, it's British thing. So they had all that. Then they had a whole inside the other room, which I guess if you were having a wedding there, the cocktail hour would be down the steps and outside, and that room, because it opens up out to the back gardens and looks over Vesuvius. The next room, you go up down a step and you're in another big ballroom with all these beautiful chandeliers in white and everything, silver and everything else. And they have a big gigantic thing in the middle that has all the hot food, bacon, sausage, potatoes. I didn't even know what was in all those things. Okay. And then they have every bread you could think of, like 5 different kinds of rolls, 2 different kinds of loaves of bread that you could cut up, like the regular Italian bread and another brown type bread and whatever. And the toaster to toast things if you wanted. Then you go around to the other side and it's all cakes and pastries, little tiny sfogliatelles. Other pastries that was sfogliatelle kind of flaky with chocolate in them. Oh, God. Then
that's the Italian breakfast is the pastries.
Yes, all the pastries and things. Then you go over to another table, and they've got every kind of fruit you could possibly think of, okay? Mandarin, oranges, mangoes, kiwis, bananas, everything cut up, everything beautiful, everything, okay? And then they have the trays of prosciutto, parma ham, mortadella, provolone, all the different cheeses, okay? Other different cheeses, and big dishes, little dishes of all fresh mozzarella, 2 different kinds of mozzarella. They also had a kind of fish every day. The first day was lox, like salmon. Second day was a tuna. Third day, I forget what it was, but every day there was a different kind of fish, like a dried type fish that you could put on your things. Then you go over to the stand where they're making eggs, and you could have an omelet or eggs any way you wanted them, and they had like 15 things you could put in it. Yeah. And they make you a fresh eggs on the day.
Did Dad do that a lot?
Well, the first day we went over and just got scrambled eggs, and I said, okay, I'm going to be good, just get scrambled eggs and a little bit of prosciutto and whatever, and then I went over and got my pastries because those spugliatelles were just too good.
Oh yeah, I would do pastries every day.
Yes. Oh God, they had a different pastry, and every day there was some different pastries. Like it wasn't always the same stuff every day.
For sure, okay. Yeah.
So even though you say, oh no, that's okay. No, we got to go taste it, okay? So it got to the point by halfway through the week, I was getting they had these delicious rolls that had like seeds and stuff on top.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I love those multigrain
I was rolls. Cutting that open, getting prosciutto, salami, mortadella, and fresh mozzarella, and I made myself a little sandwich. And that's what I have for breakfast. And then I go back and get pastries with my coffee. You could get cappuccino, iced cappuccino, or what they call American coffee. Yeah. The joke is that this big place with all this food and all this stuff. And when you ask for American coffee, they bring you this tiny little silver pot for the two of us. I wanted to say to them, I told Daddy, I said,
because the Italians do like the little coffees.
I know, the little coffee. I said, by the end of the day, though, I said to Daddy, I said, we really should have just told them 2 pots every day because it would have saved them the trip. Because we always got 2 pots of coffee. Okay. Oh, it was a riot. One day I actually had a cappuccino just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
I'd rather have plain coffee with just my cream in it.
I've never had a cappuccino.
Yes, it was okay.
What is that again? That's just
got like the milk frothed in it and stuff. So, and it's got a little sugar in it and stuff. So I tried it. It was okay, but I'd rather just have plain coffee. Like I'm not a big like fancy coffee drinker. Okay, so that was breakfast. Okay, then we go into town. That was the next day, and we had left Monday just in case to just kind of get the feel, and that's what we did. We went to the church. We went to all the little shops. We walked all around. We checked out all the views. We checked out all the different places. We just kind of enjoyed ourselves walking around the town. Well, then you get hungry and you get tired, so you have to find a restaurant. And as we walk through, I'm the fussy one, so I always look at the menus and see what they're serving and whatever. And as we passed this one restaurant, I remembered that when I was looking this stuff up on the internet, they had a dish that was spaghetti with oil and garlic and a hint of anchovies. Okay, now I do like anchovies. So I said, okay, I like that hint of anchovies. I won't eat a whole anchovy, but I like the hint of anchovies. So, let's go in here for lunch. So we did. We walked in, sat down, little red, and that's another thing, had the little red and white tablecloths on the chairs, little rustic kind of room. I mean, very small, very, everybody's happy to see you. We did not go to any of the restaurants where they have the pictures and the menus and the people standing outside trying to pull you in. Did not do that. We went and looked to see where we wanted to go and poked our heads in and said, can we have lunch? That was my favorite pasta. It was so good. I had that. And wait, I did write it down. Second day. Daddy had mussels. He had spaghetti with mussels there. Oh my God, it was so good. It was just absolutely out of this world. We did not have appetizers in that restaurant because we were just having lunch and we knew we still had to go to dinner at night.
So you controlled yourself, is what I hear.
I can show. Okay, so we did stop at the big church. I do. Okay, so that place, wait, I have to tell you who that is because that was a really good
I'll try to
restaurant.
take your notes afterwards and write these places down. I'll try to put everything I can in the description if I can find it.
Oh, okay. It was
if I can't, then some of these places may not have websites or anything like that.
They all have websites. I think because some of these I had to look up the menu to remember what I had for appetizer.
Yeah.
Omurzil it's Omurzill was this restaurant. It was on a side street. A lot of these restaurants, when I looked them up, they do have websites, but getting their menu is like pulling teeth. Yeah. You have to hope that somebody took pictures of the menu and it's clear enough so that you can make it bigger and see what they have. Yeah, like
after this, I'll take your notes, and when I'm editing, I'll try to go through and put everything down.
What I'll do is I'll yellow out all the names for you. But like this little place, it was, they were just opening for lunch when we got there. Place was great. By the time we left, their place was packed. We always look for some place that you could tell when it's packed, people are there. When they're talking to other people that look like locals, you can tell the locals from the tourists because they're walking around like dressed like they belong, in Sorrento, and they've got the dogs and they're talking to each other and they're talking to the shopkeepers and stuff. So this place was just out of this world. Okay, the churches, because they're small towns, the churches are beautiful and they're smaller. Like when you go to Rome or you go to big places, they're big cathedrals. Yeah. Big, gigantic cathedrals with lots and lots and lots of stuff going on. The churches in all these towns are what they call their main cathedrals. A lot of them you can't even tell what the name is because there's no name on it. Like, when we see a church, you see a name that tells you what the name of the church is. So this morning I just didn't have it in me to look up all the names.
So there's churches.
Yes, it's right there on the main road. You can't miss it, right? And that's the church you hear the bells at night. About 6:30 every night, those bells rang. But when the Pope got elected, those are the bells that were ringing like crazy. And they were ringing for a long time from 6 o'clock. And we said, something's up. And we realized, I said, wait a minute, they just elected the Pope. That's what that's for. And then a British couple sat down next to us in the restaurant that night. And the first thing they said to us, American? It's an American Pope.
Yeah.
And everybody was walking around saying American Papa.
Yeah.
Everybody was saying American, American Papa, to tell you that it's an American Pope that got elected.
Yeah, Papa is Pope.
Yes, I forgot that because when they first said it, I was like, and then I realized they're talking about the American Pope. Every church had its altars, okay, and I'm a church fanatic. I mean, I go to every church, every place we go. I'm interested in the architecture. I'm interested in the art. I'm interested in the style. I am a Catholic. I do say a prayer every time I go in. And I do at least I lit one candle in the big church in Sorrento for my family, for all those people that have gone before us, for everything. My parents always did that when I was a kid, and that's something I keep the tradition, and I did light a candle. They don't have a lot of candles. It's not like when you go to a church here, like in New York, like 50 million candles everywhere. It was kind of hard to find a candle to light, and we put the little donation in, and we did what we had to do. I lit my candle, said my prayer, but every church has what I would call, I don't want to call it a fresco. It's a box, like a diorama behind glass that has a whole village built in it. As if like back in the 1800s, this is what the people were living. And they'd have all the huts on the hills and all the grass and the people and the things. And of course they had the angels in the corners and the things. It was beautiful. I took pictures. Beautiful. Every single church had one. Whether it was a big church and they had a big one or a little church on the way out, there was a smaller one. And the other thing I noticed was when we were in Ireland, every church had a gift shop. Yeah. There wasn't one gift shop at any one of these churches that I went to.
Churches, no gift shops.
I was in 6 towns and there was not one gift shop in the church.
So that's funny culturally between Italy and Ireland, that Ireland has the gift shop.
Ireland had a gift shop on every church, okay?
That's so funny.
Yes. I said,
we actually have a whole episode
because I was looking
Ireland
for pins.
Too.
I figured I could get a pin because Amanda, we collect pins for Amanda. And every place I go, I try to bring a pin home. And I said, I'll try to see if they usually have like a little pin or something that says the name, or like when we went to the university in Dublin and different places, you get a little pin. No, there was no gift shops here. Where in Ireland, you could trip over a gift shop. So that night, we went to lunch, had a really great time. I wanted to mention the churches. Oh, the other thing about every church, when we go to church and you see a church here, there's always an altar with the Blessed Mother. But the Blessed Mother is usually a very similar look. She's in the blue robes with the white veils. She's praying. She's very sedate, whatever. Not these churches. These churches to the right of the altar in every church, there was this vision of her. Very vibrant, very flowing dress. And she always had, I guess, baby Jesus in her arm. But there was always another kid at her feet, like maybe 1 or 2 kids or whatever, children around her feet, done up like its own piece. Yeah. Which was very different from what we're used to seeing here and in Ireland. Every church. I started noticing it after the first or second church, and every chapel or church, because Sorrento has more than that one big cathedral. There was 2 other churches we went into. Sure, yeah. As you're walking around the streets, I started to notice it, and I started keeping track. And sure enough, every church had that, which I thought was a different thing in culture. Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, with me, churches are a big thing. So, okay, that night we went to, and I have a story about the tourist trap restaurant because it's called Parrucchiano. And you'll see this restaurant advertised everywhere. Everybody that talks, all the people, when I looked at all the postings and the things, Parrucchiano is a restaurant that shows the lemon grove trees over you, with this big, beautiful garden with these like beautiful tables with chairs and whatever. And you look at it and go, oh, I want to go eat there. It makes you feel like you're in Sorrento, whatever. Okay. Well, we couldn't make a reservation from here because we had a call, and I was going to make an international call before I went on vacation. So I said, okay, we'll wait till we get there. If we get there, we get there. And everybody said it's a tourist trap. It's a touristy restaurant, but it is worth the trip. Everybody said it. Worth the trip. Let's go try. We'll go see. So we asked the hotel, and they called up a reservation. And the guy even said to us at the desk, he says, oh, they're going to do their best to give you a really good table. He says, you just go and tell them, who you are. Okay, fine. So that night, we went to, that was the day before we made the reservation. That night, we go to the restaurant, and it opens at 7. That's when we had our reservation. And we got there early. We always get everywhere. We walk there, whatever. And when we got there, there were already a few people ahead of us, like already waiting. So we got right behind them. Maybe we were like the fifth couple that was there or whatever. Let me tell you, Sorrento's not a place to bring kids. It's not really. You see kids, but there are people with babies and people with kids, but this is not a place to like go with kids, technically. I'd say it's a waste of money to take your kid here. I mean, because it really can't. There's a lot that you're doing that they're going to get bored. There were kids there, but we went there. They brought us up these big steps. It was like 3 levels to get up to the top of this restaurant. And you're passing these levels that have tables on them. So obviously during busy season, they probably fill the tables all the way down to the bottom of these steps. Everything's set with these beautiful dishes, everything. I mean, it's an old restaurant. It's right near the church, the whole bit. So they take us upstairs and there's this little old Italian lady, not with a computer, with a paper. Sheets of paper that she's going through to check your reservation when you get up there. So we got up there and we said, okay, McHugh too. She said, oh yes, I have that. Okay. And she tells him whatever. And they take us to this table that's not anywhere under the lemons. It's in another room. Okay. The way they sit you, when you go to a restaurant and you're like 2 people, you know how like if they have a table for 4, they sit you catty corner? Like you're sort of catty corner to each other?
Yeah.
And you're either like looking at a view or you're looking, whatever, or out into the restaurant. Not only do we have that table, but the table right next to us was a catty corner view looking right at us.
So you're just looking at each other.
So technically we were almost having a table for 4, okay? And there was hardly any room between us. So, and this couple was British, I think. They looked at us, we looked at them. They got up before we did. Well, my family's always telling me that I usually don't like where I sit. So sometimes I like to change the table. Well, normally on all these other restaurants, I'm shutting my mouth. We're going here, they're sitting.
Sometimes she does that at hotels. So the tables at restaurants aren't a big deal. But when we were a kid, sometimes we'd be switching hotel rooms 2 or 3 times in a resort.
We didn't like them, right?
Dramatic.
Yes. Anyway, we sit down and I'm pissed. I'm like, no. Now we're talking an expensive restaurant here. This is not like these little cafes. This is big bucks. So I sat down. I said, oh, no. And Daddy got in trouble because he started to make me feel bad. He said, Janette, you're killing me. Can't we just sit here? I said, no, I'm not sitting here. I came all the way to this restaurant, got all dressed up to come to this restaurant to sit under the lemon tree. Jesus. So the waiter says to me, but look. And now Daddy could kind of see the lemon trees from where he was sitting, but where I was sitting, there were no lemons. Yeah. So I said to the waiter, I don't see one lemon.
Oh my God. He probably thinks it's crazy American woman.
So Daddy now is pissed. He gets up and he goes over to the old woman. He walks all the way back, goes to the old woman and says to her, we don't like our table. We want to sit in the lemon room. Okay. Now, 2 or 3 couples right before us got sat in that room. And then they put us in the other room. Yeah. So I said, no. I was here early. I made a reservation. I want to sit in that room. And if we don't sit in that room, I'm not staying. Right? So Daddy goes back. She yells at him. She's starting to yell at him, saying, I can't believe it. I gave you a good table. Blah, 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 blah. Daddy ignored her, went and told the guy who was seating people, he says, we're not sitting there. And the other couple had already been reseated. Okay. So sure enough, guy says, okay. He took us to that room. Yeah. Under the lemon trees. And we got a table facing the garden. Oh my God. So we had like one of the best tables in the restaurant. Okay. After that was all settled. Okay. The waiter was excellent. He was an older man, but he was just really nice. We ordered a very expensive bottle of Barolo that went down very smoothly between the 2 of us.
After the drama of the table.
Yes. We had, wait a minute. What I had, what did I have for appetizer? Oh, Daddy had fried octopus. He loved his octopus. And he had grilled kingfish, like a white fish for dinner. Okay, I had my favorite meal. I had 2 baby artichokes that were sauteed in oil and garlic. Oh, wow. Soft. Yeah. Like I still had to pick the leaves and then eat the center, but they were like 2 like baby artichokes. And then I had bacala, fried bacala. Yeah. And anybody who knows me knows that I love bacala. This year I didn't even make it for Christmas Eve because I'm really the only one who eats it. They served a piece of fried bacala.
Well, I can't even eat bacala. It's codfish.
No, it's fish. And it came with a salad sort of on the side. So it was the perfect thing for me. Nice piece of fish with salad. I got to tell you, one of the best meals we had too. I shouldn't say that because we couldn't trip over a bad meal. Yeah. That's why I gained so much weight on this vacation. The bread in every restaurant, crisp, wonderful. I mean, just they put everybody, as soon as you sit down, they bring a bottle of olive oil and put it on the table. It was just so good. Olive oil and balsamic vinegar went on the table every time you sat down. Absolutely delicious. We shared some kind of chocolate torte or something because after all the fish, we just wanted something like sweet and didn't want to stop someplace. So we did. Very expensive dinner. The bottle of wine was expensive. The food was expensive. But it was Parrucchiano, and I'm telling you, it's very famous. You'll see it. Well, I'm going to give you that hint. If you get there, and you get there before 7 o'clock, be one of the first people to be seated. And when you get there, you tell them, before they even take you to the table, I want to sit there. It's to the left of where they're taking the reservations. Point to that room and say, I want to sit in there.
Sit in the nice room.
Yes, okay? Because that's where you want to sit. That is the main room. That's what you're going for. See, my thing is that I went there for that. Because if I wanted to eat really good food, I could have went right around the corner, paid half the money for the dinner, and maybe just sat in a little, which we did the next night, went to this little place, sat in a little room that had like pictures and pottery and stuff on the wall, and, you know, whatever. I could have went back to my hotel and sat and saw the view of Vesuvius. You know, there were so many restaurants, and they're all good. I mean, we were only there for 6 days. I could have stayed there for 3 months and ate. I would have come home like a little tub. But I mean, it was just, you cannot trip over a bad meal. So that was that night. We just went back to the hotel bar. We sat for a while. And like I said, I think I mentioned that when they bring you a drink, they bring you a snack. I love this about Italy. When they bring you the drinks, no matter what you order, they come with this little tray with 3 little things in it, and it's got peanuts and some kind of cheesy crackers and another kind of thing in it. They're all different in different places, but they bring you 3 little dishes of like snacks to have with your drinks. Yeah, I love it. We ordered a Barolo at that. Barolo also was the wine was just out of this world. You just couldn't do bad by the wine. Okay, so that was the second day. Okay. On Tuesday, we went to Capri. Now, Capri was very confusing to me. But let's start off with the fact that everybody knows that I do not like boats. I get seasick right away, and it makes me nervous. We bought our tickets before time. I bought the tickets through Ferry Hopper. You go right on Ferry Hopper's website. You can buy tickets from almost any line. I bought them from Allianz line. I bought the one that's the big super ferry. And my friend told me, don't worry about it. It's a big, gigantic ferry. It's very flat. It's got seats across the middle, seats on the ends. You got upstairs, downstairs, whatever. Okay. I said, oh, okay. But I err on the side of caution, and I wore a band on each wrist. And I took a Dramamine. We go to the pier. We got there early. We took a cab from our hotel because it's down the mountain. Okay, we want to make sure we were there. So we took the cab right from the hotel down there. Get down there. We had our tickets, everything. We're waiting. They canceled all the ferries to Amalfi because it was too windy. Now I'm getting nervous. Okay, they're canceling the ferries to Amalfi and Positano, but they're not canceling the ferries to Capri. Okay, so they're like, no, your ferry's on time. No. Okay. So we're standing behind this big boat that has their name on it. I'm thinking that's our boat, you know, whatever. And people are running to get on the boat or whatever. Well, what happened is that was the 840 boat. We had a 920 boat. Okay. And the 920 boat was supposed to be the super speed big boat. Well, they must have switched them because the 840 boat was the big boat that left. They put us on a small little boat in that choppy water. So, you know, when you look at a washing machine and you see the window and the water's coming up against the window, that's what the boat looked like. We were in the boat and that's what the windows looked like. And where we were sitting, it was a dinky little boat with these cushioned seats around the edge. Okay. They had upstairs and downstairs, and they had
have gotten on the earlier boat. They wouldn't let you.
We probably could have if we ran to get on it, but when we were coming down, we didn't realize. Who knew? I didn't say, oh, let's run to go get that boat. We said, oh, our boat's going to be okay. Let's just, because the pier is very long. It is very, very, very long. It was funny because one woman was running for that boat. We saw her running. She had a little bikini top on, and she's running and running, and she gets there, and I guess that wasn't what she was supposed to be getting on, and she's like, oh, damn. And she was getting on our boat. So I guess you can, because coming home, we decided to come home earlier than our 6:20. We were done. We said, what are we sitting in this port for? We might as well go home. And they did. We went to the office and they said, no problem, you can get on. Now, in busy season, I don't know if they'll do that. Because even when we went to go get on the boat, they gave us a hard time. And Daddy said to them, the girl with the long dark hair at that office over there said we could do this. And they said, oh, okay. And they let us on. But I'll get to the ferry in a minute, even coming home. But we were like in a washing machine, okay? The boat's going up and down. And I can see the front window from where we're sitting, like sort of like behind, like they had a snack counter. Who could eat, okay? And there was a woman sitting next to me that gets very seasick too. And she said that the day before they had gone to Amalfi and she got sick in the car, and they told her on the way back to buy a lemon and to scratch the lemon and smell it and it will make her feel better. So she had another piece of lemon, and I happen to have a little baggie.
Yeah, I've heard the lemon thing too before that helps with motion sickness.
So she gave me a piece of her lemon. I said, thank you so much, you know. So now we're sitting there, okay, boat's going up and down.
You're just smelling your lemon.
It's supposed to be a 20-minute trip. 45 minutes in, I could see Capri. We weren't getting any closer. It was like the boat was fighting the waves for 45 minutes. People around us throwing up like crazy.
Oh my God.
They're coming out with all these clear plastic bags. One woman missed the bag, threw up all over her friends, okay? I'm sitting there, and Daddy's like got his hand up on my face going, do not look, do not look, do not look.
Don't breathe too deeply, just smell your lemon.
Now, I don't know what happened, but my 2 bands and my Dramamine worked.
Yeah, and the lemon.
I made it, okay? 45 minutes on this boat, and I was like, okay, I made it. And I was like, son of a bitch, who told me to get on this boat, okay?
Well, like you said, you probably were supposed to be on that other boat, and like you said, they switched.
They must
the
have
boats.
switched them out, okay? Because I did buy them.
And like you said, the water was quite rough that day.
Yeah,
that's so
whatever.
funny.
I made it. And the woman next to me, she almost didn't make it, but she did. And I got to give her credit because she was going to go get on a boat to the Blue Grotto. I said, good luck. I said, not me. I'm not doing that. Okay. So we walked around. So we get to the port. When you get to the port, it's very crazy, busy. Okay. People told me, oh, don't worry. There's a ton of people there. They'll tell you what to do. No. We asked like 3 different people. They looked at us like we were crazy, but then we figured it out. My cousin Joanne had given me some things that stuck in my mind and whatever. You can take the funicular up to and over the mountain to the top of the mountain where Capri is. Because when you come in at the port, that's not it. The only thing that's there is a whole bunch of these little shops and cafes to have like coffee and stuff while people are waiting for their boats and things. And all these open air taxis, which we ended up taking up to Anacapri. Open air taxis. The front of the car may have a top, but the whole back of the car has no hood on it.
Yeah, I know.
So it's
I know
all
what that
open.
is. Yeah,
okay.
for sure.
So what we did is we took the funicular up. We bought a round trip ticket to the funicular. Very easy. You walk up to the little ticket office. You buy a round trip ticket. And I called it the Italian monorail. It pulls up. The doors open. You go in. It gets up to the top. The doors open. You get out. It's the Italian monorail up the hill. Beautiful. I mean, Capri is white. Everything's blue and white. I mean, beautiful. When you get to Capri, you can tell that there's money. People are walking around. It's just different. Different stores, different things. They have all the souvenir shops too, but they've got a couple of designer shops. Lots of people hanging out. You can tell that a lot of people were coming dressed in bathing suits, even though it was chilly, because it was chilly. People were in their bathing suits under their clothes. Women usually had like little bikini tops on with little light cover-ups on, and the guys had their short, their bathing shorts and stuff on. Now, I think maybe we probably could have taken a cab down to where the Blue Grotto was and saw the beach up close, but for us it didn't pay because I was not getting on a boat into the Blue Grotto. And when I talked to somebody at the airport yesterday morning, this young couple that we ended up talking to that were going to Houston, they were going through Newark, they were standing in front of us. They said that they had gone and they went all the way to the Blue Grotto, and it was a 45-minute wait even to get a boat. And then once they got out onto the water, you don't know how long it's going to take to get into the cave. Yeah. So they said they decided not to do the cave. I said, well, I wasn't doing it from the get-go. And after that ferry ride, there was no way I was going down to the Blue Grotto. So we took one of those open-air cars up to Anacapri. Yeah. Up at the top of the mountain. Really cool trip. Up the mountain, goes through like this road that goes up and up and up and up and up till you get up to Anacapri. Very pretty. Very, very pretty. Very white, very flowers, very, everything's beautiful. We had a really nice, when we were in Capri, we had a really nice lunch at a place called Capriccio's. Beautiful little cafe, all done in sea blue and green and very modern, like more modern looking than the old-fashioned Italian. And I had caprese salad, surprise, surprise. And Daddy had a Caesar salad with chicken. It was like no Caesar salad you get here. It was just out of this world. And my caprese salad was just, every caprese salad that I had, everything has fresh basil on it. Everything's covered in fresh basil leaves. The tomatoes are delicious.
Their tomatoes just taste better than the ones in America.
The mozzarella tastes better. Everything was just so fresh, so nice, so nice. And they didn't rush us. No, it wasn't like, oh, are you done? Do you want? Yeah. And at the end, it was so funny because I only had a caprese salad. They wanted to know if we wanted dessert. We're like, no, that's okay. So they come over with a book, and they're showing us these pictures of these desserts that were made like artwork. Yeah. And we had this little pistachio bomb, like it was like a pistachio coating with chocolate inside of it with gold on it and stuff. It wasn't very big, okay? It wasn't a very, very big dessert. Daddy and I shared that. It was delicious, but it was just just the perfect thing to have. It was great. We also stopped it when we got there to Capri because we didn't know what we were doing. We sat, there's a ton of like little cafes. We sat down, I had a soda and Daddy had a cappuccino. Yeah. Just so we could sit down and kind of figure out what was happening. Like we had to figure out where we were going and stuff. Because you get to these cities, or towns I should say, and there's streets going everywhere. But they go up a hill, down a hill. They're so narrow, they got scooters going up them, cars going up them. It's crazy. So we did that. And then after that, we said, okay, well, we might as well just go back down to the port and go home if we can. So we did. We went back to the port. We asked if we can get on an earlier ferry. And we got on an earlier ferry, went back to the hotel. We rested. We did whatever. And we said, okay, now we have to go to dinner because now we're home early. I expected to get home at 7:30, 8 o'clock. I thought we were going to have like dinner in Capri and then get on the ferry. At this point now, we're back at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And now we've got 7 o'clock. That's when dinner starts. So we went back to, I think that was the day, Gigino, I think. Yes. Got home, go to dinner. Yes, we went back to Gigino, the first one we went to. Daddy ordered the same appetizer because he said it was so good. Oh, another thing on Capri, there were churches too. Churches, shops, whatever. So we went back to Gino's that night. We just got different food. I got bacala again. I figured, you know what? I'm going to have stuff that I don't have at home.
Oh, yeah.
So I had another piece of bacala, and this time, everybody makes it different. This time it was fried, but this time, I have to say at Parrucchiano's, it was very light. This one had a heavier coating. So I took the coating off because it came on a salad, and the salad had little tiny hot cherry peppers stuffed with like a tuna fish in it. So I cut up the cherry peppers, and I took the salad, and I cut up the bacala, and I took the olive oil and stuff on the table and made myself a bacala salad. It was out of this world. And of course, I got the bread, and then we ordered the same wine, the Barolo, and the whole thing. So we went back there again. Okay. All right. Then the next day was our trip down the coast. I was warned that it was going to be crazy, that I was going to be scared the whole time being in the car, that I was going to get nauseous.
Yeah, 'cause you're like driving on the cliffs, right?
Yes.
Technically.
Okay. Big Sur was worst. Okay. Big Sur was worse than this. I have to say, we did not go through world tours for that one. We went through Viator Tours, and we booked a private driver. It was just the two of us with the driver. Our driver's name was Francesco. He was about our age. Got there 10 minutes early. We left at 8 o'clock in the morning. It was an 8-hour tour. He picked us up. We got there. No, it was 9 o'clock. I'm sorry. We had breakfast. Did what he had to do. 9 o'clock, he picked us up. Got in the car. It was a van, because the first car was a Mercedes sedan when they took us from the airport. But this one, Viator, was a van. Very comfortable, okay? I sat in the back. He said, if I really didn't want to, if I wanted to get sick, I could sit in the front. But Daddy and I sat in the back because the back window of the van was straight and you could get pictures through it. So going up the coast, yes, we were going up the coast. I took all the pictures. Coming back, Daddy took all the pictures because it was on his side. But what they do is then he talks the whole time, explains everything that's happening. The ride was crazy because these big, gigantic buses and these big trucks have to come your way. And if they're coming around the curve, everybody's got to stop and try to squeeze past. And how they squeeze past, every car's got scratches along the side. Because how they squeeze past, I have no idea how they do this. It was crazy. And the scooters, again, not paying any attention. If they have one little space, they go around you, they go in front of you, they pass the red lights. They don't follow anything, okay? And everybody's on a scooter. Up the coast, I did not get sick. I did wear one band on my wrist, figuring just in case. And I brought my other band and my Dramamine, did not get sick. We went up, we had a nice ride. It was absolutely gorgeous, okay? He explains everything. He tells you as you're looking over, what you're looking at, what town you're looking at, what the history of the town. If some special person rented a hotel for their wedding, like, Brad Pitt or George
like
Clooney, he tells you where it was. He shows you over. He explains the churches that you see up in the towns, because there's all little towns as you're going. Positano's your first stop. Nobody warned me how steep Positano was going to be. Now, you see the hill. You say to yourself, okay, you see the hills.
Yeah, I've never seen the photos.
But you see the hills every place else, too. But there are flat places. There is nothing flat in Positano.
It's all steps.
Oh, God. 17 flights of steps we did. Okay, I think we did something like 6,000 steps. There was 17 flights of steps. That's what my 6,000. Every day we walked 8 miles. Okay, every day. We did at least 8 miles. Positano was steps. Okay, so Positano, it's very small. You get 1 hour. He told us you have 1 hour. Now, you didn't need more than an hour technically, because we went all the way down where he parked us. We had to walk from the car up a hill, because he can only park in certain places. Like he pulled over and you see all the drivers there talking to each other. He stops and he says, you meet me back here in an hour. And if he has to move, he'll do what he has to do and come back. But we had to walk up a hill first to get to the main area that had cafes and little shops, the same little shops that everybody else had with all the same stuff. And then you go down the steps here, and then you go down the steps there, and then you go down the steps some more. And we ended up down on the beach. Beach is very dark sand because it's more like the Vesuvius, the things, volcano. And very rocky. It wasn't soft like Hawaii. Like Hawaii had the soft black sand. This was very rocky sand, but very interesting because, they had the umbrellas and people sitting on the beach and, the cafes, and it felt like a beach town, whatever. But then after we left there, we had to go back up the hill.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you got to walk up all those steps.
I got to tell you, I don't know how people on these tours do this. Like, I have a cousin who went, and I was like, I don't know how Matthew did this.
Yeah.
Matthew's got bad knees. Like, he walks with like a little bit of a cane and stuff. And some of these, halfway up, I was like, ooh, I'm feeling it. And I work out 5 to 6 days a week on a bike. So you would think...
Well, anyone, I will say too, because I'm quite active as well. I literally run marathons, but walking up steps takes it out of you. That's why people do the Stairmaster, It's like, it's hard walking up steps.
Oh God, let me tell you, but beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Before you get to Positano, as you're going up the coast, it was so funny. He said, when the mountain juts out. And he said, you see that up there on the corner? And I said, yes. He said, can you tell what that is? I said, it looks like the Virgin Mary. As soon as I saw it. From the side, it looks like a woman's figure, like, with her hands out. Her face, okay? And what they did is they planted so that the top has like flowers. And whatever's here, it's got flowers. It looks like it's the Virgin Mary with flowers looking over the harbor.
Yeah.
And he said, that's the patron of the harbor. And there's a lot of stories and myth and stuff. He went through all the myths about the different, all the myths and the things that you hear about the sirens and the mermaids and the Ulysses and this and that and the other thing. So he's got a lot of that history that he talks about. And like I said, he was naming all the towns, and I looked at him and I said, he's going on and on and on, and you're looking at all this scenery and you're doing this all at once. And I'm like,
I love doing tours, but then it's like I need to be like taking notes.
I know, I was taking pictures.
That's what
I was like, I'm on sensory, right? I said, I'm on sensory overload, because later on he said something about a town. I said, don't quiz me. I said, because I'm gonna have to take out a map and go, okay, as you're going up there, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. You take these pictures and you're looking at this stuff, and he's telling you all these myths and things and stuff. And I was like, oh my God. But it's so interesting because, like I said, it's like a tour, but it was just a private thing where he was telling us. And then when we got to the towns, we got to do whatever we wanted. So it was definitely worth it. So, okay, that was that. Then we get back in the car. There was a little bit of a longer ride between Positano and Amalfi than I thought. But then we get to Amalfi. When you get to Amalfi, it's a whole different vibe than Positano, okay? So now you get to Amalfi, and he lets you off, and again, with the hills, up and down the hills to get to where you are. But when you get to the main square of Amalfi, there is a major cathedral in front of you, 64 steps. And Gay says that her grandfather on her mother's side died while he was working on those steps.
Yeah.
He died under the steps.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's crazy.
Her great-grandfather, I think it was, died under those steps. Big, big, big steps. That cathedral was the biggest one we saw while we were there, except for Naples. Big cathedral. You go up, it has like little cloister gardens. Beautiful, beautiful church, the whole thing. The best thing was at the bottom of that church steps is a place called Panza. That is, Sfogliatelle was made there. That was like the original Sfogliatelle.
Yeah.
And they have this beautiful, beautiful bakery with table. We didn't stay at a table. We just bought Sfogliatelle and ate it as a snack, because by that time we're traveling and we were hungry. So if we're here, we have to get a Sfogliatelle, of course. God forbid I should get something healthy. We went in and got Sfogliatelle, and we got the one with the yellow cream in it, because that's their like signature. When we ordered it, we didn't know we were ordering that one. I thought I was ordering a plain one. And when they charged us and we went back, she went to go get that one. I said, no, I wanted that one. She said, oh, you paid for this. You have to get a refund. I said, oh, forget it. Just give me that. So we ate that. We both had one of those little Sfogliatellas with the yellow cream in it. And we ate it while we walked around. Oh, God, they're so delicious. I got to tell you, Sfogliatelle is just too good. So we did that. And Panza is the main place where it started. Yeah. Beautiful. But that was another thing. We get to Amalfi, and there's these streets going up these hills that you have no idea. Is there anything up there? Is there not anything up there? You have no idea. You're walking up this big hill, and then you get up there and there's nothing but somebody's house. So you go into the little tourist thing and you say, okay, what about a map? Oh, they don't give you maps. A lot of Italy does not give you maps. They give you little QR codes. And for some reason, our phones would not work in Amalfi. We could not get the QR code to read and give us. So we just wandered around. We had an hour. We just wandered around, took in all the, the sights, went down by the water, did all the stuff that we normally. Okay. Then they take you up to Ravello, which is at the top of the mountains, Ravello. Whole new vibe. Ravello's about music. They have a big, gigantic music festival in May where they have orchestras and people, and it overlooks the whole bay with Vesuvius and stuff. We walked over to the park where they have this big, big music festival. Everything has to do with music, even when you're walking around the streets, music shops, the wood carving. Porcelain and wood are the two big things, obviously. Mostly porcelain down when you're in Sorrento and stuff, but when you're up in Ravello, a lot of wood carving shops. You could see the people making the furniture, making the music boxes and the coasters and these trays were gorgeous. I mean, if you had a big house and you wanted to buy these trays and they were just out of this world. Beautiful, beautiful work. Absolutely beautiful. So of course now they give you 2 hours in Ravello because now you're at the end, you're at the top of the mountain. And by that time, it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You haven't had anything to eat technically, unless you've been eating like sfogliatelles. So they give you time to have lunch. So he goes off and does what he has to do, tells us where to meet him at the parking lot. And we had to walk up steps to get up to Ravello. And we walking around, we see this little tiny little cafe and we looked at the menu and I said, well, this looks good. Let's go in there. We go in there and the place is packed. And a lot of them are locals. You can tell they're local. They're talking Italian. They're talking to the things. They're talking to the people in the restaurant. They know them. And this little old grandmother is walking around from table to table. She did not look like my mother's mother. She looked like my father's mother. And I looked and said, that would be my grandmother if she had a nice attitude. My grandmother was not a very, very pleasant person. So if she had a really good attitude, it would have looked just like her. Little short little Italian woman, dark hair, little apron on, walking around, asking how your meal is. The kids are running, her kids, I guess, were the ones running around like serving the food and stuff. Daddy and I just said we wanted to eat light. We all both ordered a caprese salad, okay? It was the best caprese salad I have ever had. It came with a little bit of romaine lettuce with lemon on it, which I like to eat my salad with lemon and olive oil. It came with all the tomatoes cut, those beautiful red tomatoes, and 2 bowls of this most beautiful mozzarella with fresh basil leaves all over everything, okay? So we ate this. We were like in our glory. She came over, started talking to us, and I told her, I said, my family comes from, Naples, and my mother comes from Sicily. Siciliana, and she's talking and she's talking, and she had these pictures. They had pictures of famous people. John Legend, a couple of other actors were there. John Legend and his wife. She's in the middle, and John Legend and his wife are hugging her. And I pointed to a painting. She said, yes, John Legend. I said, no, not him. You. I said, that's you, isn't it? It was like a drawing. She said, yes, me and my father. And then she had all the old Italian pictures, like what I had, like when I was a kid and looking at all those Italian pictures from my family, from when they came over and when they opened the restaurant, were all on the walls. And it was just really cool. So she came over and she's like, how was the meal? And we were telling her how wonderful it was, and we were talking and whatever. Told her my maiden name, that there was a town right there that was my maiden name, and she was like so excited and whatever. And then she said, dessert. I said, no, dessert. They got everybody. It looked like everybody in the restaurant got a piece of hazelnut chocolate cake, a small little piece, So Daddy and I shared it. Then she's coming over and saying, oh, limoncello. Oh, do you want some tiramisu? You want some tiramisu? I said, no, please, thank you, but I'm so stuffed. Thank you. Yeah. When I left, she gave me a big hug and a kiss. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, this was like eating in my grandmother's place. It was just so much fun. Okay. Then we just walked around, and then we sat over by like where the square was till it was time to go meet our driver. And then he took us home. And that was 8 hours. So from 9 to like whatever time that was, we got home 4:30, whatever. So then we had to go to dinner that night too. Yeah. It was like 7 o'clock. Okay, where we going to dinner? We were going to go to the bar. The bar, I would not go to the restaurant in the hotel. It was very expensive. And I call it a frou-frou menu that I looked at and said, there's nothing I can eat on this menu. Yeah. But the bar always had music and whatever. So we went to the bar, and the bar has like a little snack menu. But everything on the snack menu was like cheese toast, fried mozzarella skewer. They had a hamburger, which I refused to eat a hamburger in Italy. A hamburger, a club sandwich. I forget what the third thing was. And I looked at, Daddy, and I said, and he says, no. Well, I said, I don't mind walking into town at this point. We sat in a car most of the day, except when we were walking up and down the steps. And by that time, we were rested. So we walked back into town, and we were walking, and we found this little place that I had seen online called Les Chantecler. Trattoria. And I had heard reviews about this being a really good find. And it's hard to find. It's behind the church. So you have to go past the church, go up an alley, make a left, and behind the church in this little tiny little alley, I saw that they had tables outside, but it was kind of chilly and windy the night we were there. And they have umbrellas. So when you see the pictures of this place on the internet, they do look like in the summertime, they have all the umbrellas open with the tables, and they have like peppers hanging on the walls, like, like decorated. It wasn't decorated. So we went inside. Small little place, more locals eating and coming, going, and tourists, whatever. And we sat down, and Daddy had wine that night. I was so tired by that time. I could not drink. So I didn't have any wine. He ordered a carafe. He said it was really, It was the house wine. It was so good. He got another carafe, like a quarter carafe. He drank a half a bottle, I guess, for him. I got Parma ham and mozzarella for appetizer, and I forget what he got. He had homemade pasta with seafood. That's what they say. Seafood. Daddy doesn't care what kind of seafood it is. It can come with any kind of seafood. He'll eat it. I do not order anything that says seafood. Everything fresh, okay? When we went to that old Merzul restaurant, they had a special. Guy had his phone. Not only is he showing you the special with the fish, he showed you the fish. Did you ever see, what's it called? The flatfish or whatever it's called? That ugly fish with the thing? He showed you a picture of the fish where the fish was coming from. And I was like, oh God, I want to see that, okay? This place, Daddy had homemade pasta with seafood. And all the pasta is done al dente. Delicious, okay? I was going to get pasta and clams, spaghetti and clams. Well, the girls next to us, there were 4 girls sitting at the table next to us, and they ordered 3 girls, and they ordered 3 different dishes, and they were all sharing them. And one of the specials was spaghetti with fresh tomatoes. And the girl got it. And I looked over and said, I want that. I want that. Forget anything else. I want it. It was out of this world. Out of this world. Again, another good meal. Okay. So we ate there that night. I don't think that we went. That was the cheapest meal we had. The wine was cheap. I mean, it was like $3 for like a carafe of wine. I mean, where do you get that? I mean, that's like ridiculous. And it was so good. I don't think we had dessert that night. I think Daddy had gelato on the way home. We went to that same place, that little stand on the way home, and Daddy had gelato. I was too full. I mean, I had lunch and dinner. I just couldn't do it. Who eats that kind of food? I don't do that. Okay. Last day. Okay. Last day was Thursday. We had no plans except to walk around. We had breakfast as usual, a beautiful breakfast. Then instead of eating lunch, we stopped at cafes here, there, and everywhere. We stopped at the first cafe about 11 o'clock, and I had a gelato for lunch, and Daddy just had a cappuccino. Then we walked around, and he decided he wanted to either go to the Irish pub, which wasn't open because we thought it was a joke that, go to an Irish pub in Ireland, but the Irish pub didn't open till dinner time. So, but the English pub was open. So we got a table against the wall, looking out at all the people coming and going, and Daddy had a beer and chips, and I had a soda because that's what we had for lunch. Then we went back to the hotel. I even have the names of the places we had all these things. But when we had been out the day before, when we had come out of Mazzullo's, there was a restaurant right on a corner called Taverna Dell' 800. And that's how long it's been there, since the 1800s, this restaurant on the corner. They own 2 restaurants, that and the one across the street. But this one, people were sitting outside, and when we walked by, it looked really cute, really interesting. We really wanted to go there. So when we went out Thursday morning, we passed it. We made sure we went past it, and we told the guy, we said, we want to come back tonight for dinner at 6:30. He said, no problem. And I said, I want to sit there. There was a table in the bar. And I said, can I sit there tonight? And he said, no problem. And he did. He wrote it down. And when we went back at 6:30, sure enough, sat us at that table. It was so much nicer. It was up against the wall. And it was just 2. The bar was there. They had another big, gigantic room down the steps and stuff. And they had tables outside. But like I said, at night, it was kind of chilly in that alley. When we ate at Gigino's, we did eat outside. But Gigino's was a smaller alley that had a lot of stuff going on. Like the way it was situated between 2 buildings, we were like, so one night it actually drizzled a little bit. We didn't even know because we were under the covering. Where this restaurant, this alley, the wind was blowing through it. So it would have been cold. So we wanted to eat inside. Oh my God. I had macaroni and clams. Daddy had the best meal he had all week. It was a platter of fish. It was mixed grill fish. And it was a platter of fish, different fish. Calamari, octopus. I think he had a little piece of bacala, some other kind of white fish, whatever. And then, of course, I gave him all my clams. And the clams were the little clams, but they had a whole bunch of them. Like in the thing. It was so good. Okay? So okay, now I got to tell you a funny story about the wine. He usually looks at the wine list. I don't really care. He knows what I like. Order the wine. I don't care. I'm not a big wine drinker to begin with. I like a Barolo. So he's looking at the wine list. It's a big wine list. He's looking at the wine list. Looking at the wine. He says, we have to order a bottle. I was so tired. I was like, oh, really? A whole bottle? I don't know if I could drink it. So you know what? Just order it. If we don't drink it, we don't drink it. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, fine. So we go through this whole thing, and he's reading this menu. I said, what's the matter? He said, well, I don't know which one to do. So the waiter comes over. Is everything okay? Because I'm like looking at Daddy, like, do this. So I said to the waiter, no. I said, everything's fine. I said, he needs to get a recommendation. Do you have a recommendation for the wine? I said, because, we like a light wine. We don't want a real heavy wine because that'll put me under the table. So So he says, okay. So he recommended the wine. Wine was excellent. But I don't know if you had this when you went to Venice, when they brought the wine to this restaurant, the wine bottle was twice the size of what a normal wine bottle is. That's how thick the glass was. So when he put the bottle down, I went, we can't drink that. What is that? He says, no. It's a regular, like when you looked at the thing, it was a regular bottle of wine. But the glass bottle for the wine was so thick.
No, we didn't have
it. It looked like a Magnum. I was like, we can't drink that. As it was, I was already worrying
Is that
about
like a red wine thing maybe or something?
I don't know. This restaurant, for some reason, their bottles look a lot bigger than everybody else's.
Thick glass.
So now, so he goes and gets the wine, okay? So then Daddy's got the wine list, and he's looking at the wine list and whatever. And Daddy has to get up, and he goes to the bathroom. So Daddy gets up, and this British couple had sat next to us. A nice little couple sat next to us. They sat down, and they were like at a table next to us, for two. And Daddy goes to the bathroom, and while he goes to the bathroom, they order a glass of wine each, okay? Because Daddy at that point had a lot of red wine all week, and he was like, oh, I'm having a lot of red wine. I said, well, you should just order a glass of white wine. You don't have to drink red wine. Drink the white wine. Okay. I said, so when we got there, I said, I really wish we could just get one glass. Because,
so the British couple got ordered by the glass.
They ordered a glass of wine each. One had white, one had red, and pasta. Okay? So Daddy comes back, and I said to him, they just ordered a glass of wine. Yeah. We got this big bottle. So Daddy says, he picks up the wine list. He looks at it. He says, oh, look at that. First page. Okay, that's not the end of the story. Now, you understand, Daddy, right?
No, my dad's done that before.
Okay. So now I say to him, give me that wine list. So I take the wine list from him. I open it up. The whole damn wine list is in Italian. He was looking at it for 20 minutes. I said to him, what were you reading?
Yeah, my dad does not speak any Italian.
Now you have to understand that I've had 2 glasses of wine on an empty stomach. I had a gelato at 11 o'clock. So I had 2 glasses of wine on an empty stomach. And I'm looking at him going, okay, I fired him in Ireland for being the cruise director. I again fired him for being a sommelier. I said, that's it. You are fired. We're on vacation.
Well, you're on your last day anyway at this point.
Oh, it was so hysterical. Needless to say, we finished that glass of wine. I was so giddy.
On the bottle.
I was so hysterical at that point because now I had 2 glasses of wine and I'm yelling at him about the whole thing that he's reading this Italian. He didn't understand a word he was reading, but yet he was reading and reading and reading. Okay. So I say to him, I said, wish I could tell somebody the story. I said, so I emailed Gay. I said, Gay, I'm 2 glasses into wine. I've had nothing to eat all day. I've got this great story you're going to love about Joe and the wine. Make sure I tell it to you. And I sent it to her. She was hysterical when I talked to her today. She's like, I knew something was going on. I said, I was in this restaurant. We looked like we were having a party. I mean, we weren't bothering anybody.
I feel like that's happened before where Dad was looking at a menu and then I took it from him. I was like, this is not in English. I was like, what are you doing?
20. But Amanda was the one. He kept looking and looking. He didn't say, I can't read this. Let's get the even with the maps, I say to him, look it up on your phone. I don't know where this is. Give me the... You're fired. Oh, it was so but I was so like giddy because you know how I get when I have an empty head and I had the wine and I was like, get some food. I have to get some food. We were having ourselves a party. We weren't bothering anybody. Mm-hmm. But the couple, it was so funny because they, especially them, they looked over and they said something like, oh, American Papa. Like, the Pope was just elected. That was the night the Pope was elected. Mm-hmm. But I got to tell you, that was my funny story about the wine. So anyway, okay. So then we're done with Sorrento. Next morning, we have our breakfast. Car picks us up on time as usual. Didn't talk English, so we just rode in silence to Naples. Got to Naples. We stayed at the Grand Hotel Oriente. Nowhere near as luxurious as the one we just came. Everything's called Grand everything. Grand Hotel this, Grand Hotel that, Grand Hotel. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the Grand Hotel Royale. After breakfast one day, we took the lift down to the level where you could go in the water. Mm-hmm. And the elevator takes you down the cliff in the mountain. You come out and it's a tunnel, a cave. Mm-hmm. You walk down this cave tunnel that has all these lights. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And you walk out into right there by the rocks and the water and stuff. Mm-hmm. And you're on a deck and they have all tables. Like you could have a cocktail hour down there with all tables and parties. They did have 2 parties while we were there. One was a communion party and I think they were setting up for a wedding when we left. But they have all tables down there with umbrellas and flowers and whatever. And then you go down another level and they have chairs, lounge chairs to sit in the sun and whatever. And then you go down another level and there's another little deck and it has a ladder that goes into the water. Mm-hmm. So you can go swimming down there. Beautiful. Music playing. The whole thing, absolutely gorgeous. When you look up, I have pictures looking from there up. Our room, which was only on the 2nd floor of the hotel, is like 10 stories up. Mm-hmm. And this hotel is up. It was just, you go down that elevator right through the rock down to the lower level. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. So now we get to the Hotel Oriente. Very nice, very pleasant. Very austere, when we got to the room, the pictures on the internet look like it's all done in these soft hues and whatever. Yeah. Not ours. Ours was the color of your shirt, that maroon color. Yeah. They had maroon blankets with gold, pillows that had maroon and gold on them. It was like very Roman kind of looking. Okay. Naples, unless you're going to the airport.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from everyone. That Naples
Filthy.
is dirty. It's
Filthy.
The food's not that great.
No.
There's not much to do in
Filthy.
general to like a touristy sense.
We got to Naples and we were in shock because we've been to cities. I mean, I've been to cities. I am in New York. I am in Philadelphia. I've been to Chicago. I've been to LA. I've been to the big cities here. I've been to New Orleans. New Orleans is cleaner than this place. Let me tell you something. This is the dirtiest city I've ever been to in my life. There is not one brick in the city that doesn't have graffiti on it. There is not one corner that doesn't have tons and tons of garbage just sitting out there. People just throwing their garbage on top of garbage bags. It was just disgusting, okay? Really, really bad, I have to say. We checked into the hotel. Of course, the room wasn't ready, so we just left our bags. And we went to meet Carolyn and Jimmy, my cousins. We went to the cafe, and I didn't realize it was right under their building. We're sitting we got there early because we had to find it. First of all, we got lost walking there because it took us from our area through the shopping area. And I got to tell you, as you know, I'm a shopper. There was an H&M right across from my hotel. We passed Zara's. We passed the mall.
Oh, yeah, all the big stores.
We passed all this stuff. I did not go in any one of them. It was tearing my heart out.
Why didn't you go in?
Because we were with Carolyn and Jimmy when we were walking around. And I said, I will give up my shopping to be with my cousins. Because my cousins live in Sardinia. So they flew over to Naples. But they were staying in a bed and breakfast. But their room was right atop from the place they told us to meet them. I didn't know that. So all of a sudden, Daddy says, somebody's calling our name. Are they here? We couldn't find them. They were up on their balcony.
Yeah.
They said they looked out and saw us sitting down there. So they came out. We had they had a coffee. We were already having a coffee and a soda because we had to walk a real up a hill to get to them. They were in a vintage district of Naples. Everything was art. Lots of art schools. You could see the art students coming out. Lots of art supplies and music. Lots of music supplies, guitars, picks, music, people making musical instruments. Very, very artsy, almost like the 60s was picked up and dumped in Naples, okay? Only a lot darker, but very, very artsy kind of neighborhood. And from there, they picked a restaurant that we went to. Very pretty restaurant when you first got there. It was like very interesting because it was on the musical kind of thing where they had these paintings going up these steps of guys like the old-fashioned people dressed in the Harlequin with the piccolos and stuff. And the restaurant was beautiful. It had, really nice entrance. We sat down, beautiful. That's where it stopped. First time the whole week we were in Italy, you have to knock the waiters over to get your check, to do whatever. They do not rush you for anything. This restaurant, they started already as soon as we sat down. They wanted to know what wine we wanted. They wanted to know what we wanted to eat. Twice they came over while we were talking and doing and whatever. And then while we were there, they had all these tables set up. They had a big, gigantic party that came in, whether it was a tour or whatever, that came in and sat down at a couple of different tables. And then they had another group that was like, they looked like business people. They had suits on and stuff. They sat there. I think because they had all these big parties, they rushed us through our dinner. It was lunch, but we were having a big lunch because we weren't going to have dinner. We were doing the Italian way, big lunch. So they rushed us. So what happened is that when they started giving in the back of my head, I come from New York. In the back of my head, I'm saying to myself, do not order dinner, do not order dinner, do not order dinner. And Jimmy and Carolyn, they like to order a lot for appetizers. Like we all ordered an appetizer, and I ordered my own appetizer because I looked at the appetizers and said, I'm not eating any of that. It was fish, it was anchovies, it was bacala, it was this, it was that. I said, I'm not eating any of that, so I'm going to order. I had fried artichoke. It was this artichoke that was smashed, and then they fried it, and it had like cheese and stuff on top. It was delicious. My appetizer was out of this world. I really liked. Very light, very nice, and I love artichokes. Okay, so then I'm looking at the menu. I was going to order the macaroni and clams again, but then I saw another bacala dish, and I said, oh, it's my last day in Italy, and I can get macaroni and clams anywhere. I really want the bacala. So it said it was supposed to be made with olives and capers and black olives and whatever. And I said, oh, okay, that sounds good. I figured, okay. I made sure there was no bones. First thing I ask is no bones. So they ordered all these appetizers. Everybody ordered an appetizer, plus they ordered another whole dish of like anchovies and something else. We weren't even finished with our appetizers. They brought the dinners, the lunches, okay? Jimmy got veal with some kind of mushrooms. His sauce was really heavy. Carolyn got pasta with meat on it, but it had a lot of this red sauce on it. Daddy got ravioli, and I got the bacala. Mine came drowned in the red sauce, which was the same thing he had for appetizer. Daddy had octopus, like drowned in red sauce. I ended up having bacala drowned in red sauce. And it wasn't as good as all the other dishes we had. And they rushed us. Jimmy got annoyed. He even told the waiter. He says, this is not good. He said, these people came to visit with us. He says, and here you are rushing us through our meal.
Yeah.
And the guy did apologize. Well, I'm so sorry, but we had a big crowd and whatever. And Jimmy said, no excuse, And I said to Jimmy, see, that's the difference. Here, there is no tipping. If that was in New Jersey, first words out of our mouth would have been, really? Well, then there's no tip.
Yeah.
You just screwed yourself out of the tip. So that was it. But we had a great time with them. We went to the big cathedral, which was very nice. And then the other thing that's there, just so you know, there's another exhibit supposedly that's supposed to be the exhibit to see. It's these statues that have like veils and shrouds made out of like the porcelain, but look like they're real, okay? And Carolyn wanted to see it. So we walked across the whole city to go to this museum, and then we get there and the ticket office says all tickets sold out till Wednesday.
Oh no.
So I felt bad for her because I didn't really care. We got to see the city. We were walking around the city, no big deal. But she was disappointed because she was told that's the one thing she really wanted to see.
Yeah.
And then they were going to Pompeii today. That's the one thing we did not do. We did not go to Pompeii. Yeah. And I'm glad we didn't spend a whole day at Pompeii because I really liked being in Sorrento. I really liked the idea that we had a relaxing vacation.
Yeah, for sure.
We lucked out coming home. When you go to the Naples airport, it is a very big airport, very nice airport. Restaurants, shopping, cafes, anything you need, anything you want is at the airport. But you have to show your passport like 20 times, every place you go. And Delta, American, and United don't pull up to the terminal. They pull up out on the tarmac and you have to get on a bus. So pack accordingly. Yeah. Because you're going to be dragging your own suitcases everywhere.
Real quick, Savannah, my mom's cat just sneezed and a bunch of snot just came out of her nose.
Oh, Savannah.
It's like all over the carpet. It's so funny.
Are you serious? She never does that. What the hell?
All this snot just
Okay, I'll clean it in a minute.
Okay. It's not that much. It'll fade away. But
okay. So, like I said, it was that place that we went to was called La Conde di Gariglio. Now, supposedly it's one of those ones that's recommended and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, nice atmosphere, very bad service, and the food was not as good. And the airport home, gotta say, they did fudge it a little bit at the end. You could see they were doing a zigzag because I watch the map when we go home. Now you can watch the map on the thing. They did a little zigzag here and there. We were going west instead of going where we were supposed to be going. I think they were trying to make sure the gate was ready because we were a little early coming in. We came in without a problem. Yeah. We got to customs. It was empty. We walked right up to customs, walked right through. The guy asked us, do you have anything to, we said, well, we bought some stuff. He said, well, do you have anything over $1,000? I said, oh, no. I said, well, souvenirs. I said, we just ate and drank the whole week. He started laughing. He said, okay, that's the way to do it. So, and that was it. So that was my trip. So if anybody wants any specific information about anything.
I'll go through your notes and I'll write down a lot of the places and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I said, I tried to
description with links.
Yeah, I tried to mention the pitfalls. Like I said, be aware that you are going to carry your bags. So, if your bags are big and heavy, you're going to have a problem because getting on and off those buses at Naples Airport, they do not do it for you. You have to get those things on and off the buses. Be aware that Positano is the worst staircase I have ever climbed. It was bad. It was tough. Very, very tough. And I could see in hot weather that would be a real problem. We were cool. We were wearing jackets.
Oh, yeah, because you went kind of in like
we were
season.
wearing jackets and dungarees. I was happy. I don't wear shorts, but I was very happy about the weather because I didn't have to worry that everybody else is in shorts. And I was when we got to Naples, everybody was in leather jackets and dungarees.
For sure.
So, like I said, I gave a lot of information, but I was hoping that, like I said, I always want to listen to these and know, like, if I'm going there, I want the little pitfalls. I want the little tips.
Yeah, this is great to hear.
Yes, because you don't know what you're doing. When you get to the Naples airport, that's another thing. When we first got there to come home, there was this big long line. Everybody was getting on that line. And we got on the line and we said, are we sure we're on the right line? The people behind us said, are you going to New York? They said, are you going to, we said, where are you going? I said, we're going to New York. But they must have been traveling someplace else because they had an accent. They said, well, we're going to Newark. I said, yes, to us, that's New York. We're going to Newark. So they said, okay. So I told Daddy, I said, you better go make sure this is the right. Sure enough, when he walked around this big line, it's EasyJet. EasyJet is an orange jet, pulls right up to the terminal. So I think that's the jets coming from Europe that are coming in. So a lot of people are using that line. No. United, nobody online. We walked right around. So the people said, we're going to follow you. So they followed us. And sure enough, we get up there and there's nobody online. Okay. So you always have to just make sure if one of you is online, the other one has to go up and just make sure that you're on the right line.
For sure.
Because a lot of the people in the airports don't talk English. Yeah. You stop somebody and they look at you like, and you ask them a question, they tell you something completely different. And you go, I don't think that's the right answer. So just be aware that you just have to find your own way.
Yeah. Just take your time.
Yes. That's all. Just give yourself enough time.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing this.
Oh, God.
Sharing
Okay, first time I ever did so much talking.
I know,
okay.
No, this was great. I loved hearing about it because for me this too. I hadn't heard anything yet. About
that's what I said. I figured if I'm going to do this, I might as well tell you, and this way I get to tell you all the details.
Yeah, so that was good. Yeah, but thanks so much. Yeah, again, I'll put all the links in the description. So so that was your trip recap. Yes. Obviously, this is a pre-recorded episode because so we're not going to do any Disney news this week. I'll say the biggest Disney news that has happened by the time this comes out again, it's like a month later. Right. Was that Disney announced the new park in Abu Dhabi.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, so the new park is going to be in Abu Dhabi. It's going to be similar to Tokyo Disneyland, where Disney is not going to own this park at all. No rights to the park. So the way Disneyland Tokyo is that Disneyland Tokyo basically hired Disney and they're licensing the park. So everything's licensed through it. And they basically hire the Imagineers to create the park for them. So of course, there's lots of controversy over the park that we won't get into, but just to know, like, Disney's not actually going to own the park. Why they chose to do another licensing type park, who knows, honestly. So, but just to note that. So I feel like that's the biggest Disney news that's kind of been going on overall.
Well, I know we recorded this way up, but I said, if you're coming, we might as well do it while I'm still remembering all the little details.
No, for sure, because the next few episodes, then we're going to have, I'll be going on my Bachelorette next week. So my Bachelorette in Disney, and I'm going on the Disney Wish. And so that'll be in the next few episodes.
Right?
So, so that'll be fun. Okay. But we have only one Disney birthday. There's actually no Disney birthdays, but we have one birthday in our personal lives. On June 7th, it is our friend Jane's birthday. So happy birthday to Jane. And then normally we do end on a Disney memory, but I feel like this whole podcast
this is all about Sorrento, and I'm going to have lots of memories from Sorrento.
No, for sure. Well, was there anything in Sorrento that now you look at the Italian pavilion in Epcot and you're like, oh yes, that looks similar? Because the Italy pavilion is more northern Italy, I feel like.
Yes, the Italy pavilion does not remind me of Sorrento, even when I'm looking at it. I think the only thing that would remind me of Sorrento is, to the right where they have the flowers and the stairs and stuff with the colorful flowers, because they not a lot of fountains in Sorrento. Not like there are a couple here and there, but not a lot of fountains. Not a lot of that like architecture kind of thing, because like I said, remember, this is a beach town. This is people are going there to
it doesn't seem
be
like
at a resort.
The Epcot pavilion doesn't didn't take inspiration from the sector of Italy. But it was great to hear. But thanks very much for sharing.
Yeah, but if you have a chance, I got to tell you, it is eating and drinking, churches, a couple of museums when you get to Naples, and a lot of beautiful scenery. And that's why I say that I would not bring little kids, because yes, you can go to the beach, but the beaches are not like when you go someplace else to the beach. It's different. It's just a whole different atmosphere.
But if anyone has any questions about Sorrento, Italy, or anything to do with Naples or Amalfi Coast,
let us know.
Definitely, message us on our Instagram, Almost Amanda X. My mom doesn't really have an Instagram, so just let me know and I will pass it along and we can answer any questions. And so, definitely let us know, because we'd love to hear. But otherwise, thanks everyone for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Make sure you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you leave a comment down below as well to say, have you been to Sorrento? Are you planning to go to Sorrento or go to Italy in a general sense? You're just looking for tips and things about Italy in more general sense or something like that. I am planning a trip to Italy next year. At this point, it'll be like a year and a half away from when we're recording. But one day I will also go back to Italy, although I'm not going to this area of Italy. So we're probably not going to Sorrento anyway.
Not going to Sorrento.
So we'll have more Italy in the future, but for a whole different region of the country. So definitely let us know your thoughts on Sorrento and Italy. But until then,